Hello, everyone. Hello, hello. It's 2022, March the 20th, 2022. And I'm super excited. My name is Elyse, for those of you who don't know me yet, but it is my honor to come to you all today. We have a fabulous individual that we're bringing forth live right here as I host live, Dr. Mack. I'm super excited, and I'll share with you all just a little bit of information in terms of how this works. We have this on Facebook, we have this on LinkedIn, and we have it on YouTube simultaneously. So, for those of you who are tuning in, if you have questions, feel free in the chat and comment location to drop your comments, okay? As well, if you are very moved by anything that we shared today, you're always welcome to follow back up. You can email us, you can log in on Facebook, share comments on LinkedIn, YouTube, and give us your feedback, because this is part of my why, helping other people, basically changing lives, helping people take off limitations and move beyond mediocrity so that you too can live and have a quality life. When I run into individuals, as the individual today, like today that we're hosting, it just brings great joy to me in terms of what is actually going on in our world today. And I'm super excited to share with you all Dr. Kimberly Mack. She's an amazing entrepreneur extraordinaire. She is a principal over at John P. Parker. When I met her, I was putting on our first ever block parties for Cincinnati Public Schools in my role as a director. And when I say seamless, this lady has just great ideas. She's very energizing. She's connected with her staff in the fact that not only has she authored books, but her staff is beginning to do so, and her students are doing the same. So I am not going to delay anymore. Like I said, if you have any questions, definitely come on into the comment area and chat and share those questions. But without any further delay, I want to take an opportunity to introduce to some and present to others Dr. Kimberly Mack. Everybody join me as we bring Dr. Mack on board. Welcome, Dr. Mack, today. Say hello to everyone.
Hello. Thank you, Elyse, for inviting me to be a part of your celebration today of Women's History. I am so excited to be here with you. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Absolutely. It's actually my honor. So, we know that one of the hardest industries, given the pandemic, to work in at this time is education. But without our education, we can't grow any further. We can't fulfill our purpose. And you are a mover and a shaker. You are doing some fabulous things behind the scenes. A lot of times our educators don't get the credit and the worthiness of all of the hard work and busy schedule. So before we get into education specifically, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and how you got into what you're doing today? And take as much time as you need.
Well, I am Dr. Kimberly Mack, and I serve as the principal at John P. Parker School, which is the neighborhood school for Madisonville here in Cincinnati. I've been at John P. Parker on and off since 2004 and been principal there since 2008. And over that time, we have experienced some tremendous opportunities for really engaging our students, their families, and the community. We are a community learning center. Therefore, we are all about empowering our families and empowering community. So a lot of what we do at John P. Parker is really centered around every student and making sure that every child succeeds. Our school serves students as young as 3 years old in preschool, all the way till sixth grade when they go to high school at seventh grade.
Very good, Dr. Mack. Thanks for that intro. Why don't you share with us, how did you get into education? Was it the first idea that you had in terms of career wise? What was your path to education?
Well, I always wanted to be a teacher. Um, as young as I can remember, playing school, of course, many people will tell you the same thing. Playing school with siblings and friends from the neighborhood down in our basement. My father was a pastor, and he would oftentimes get donations of various things, and someone had given him some school desk. So we would play school all the time. And when I got older and I was thinking about what I wanted to do as a career, I wanted to be a teacher. But my mother said, there's not much future in education and you won't make very much money. Listen, I was talking to somebody and they think you should go into business. So being, very dutiful and really honoring the request of my mother, when I was accepted to Miami University, I actually pursued business. I pursued marketing. I had an interest really in, how do commercials come about, and I figured that would be in marketing. But eventually I found out marketing was a very wide field. It could be, PR, it could be not only public relations, but it could also be in different avenues. But my heart always was in education. So I continued in marketing until my junior year. And I said, this is not what I want to do. I participated in an opportunity called Laws Hall and Associates at Miami University, where we actually did the market research and presented an ad campaign to White Castles. And although it was a very interesting, it was an interesting project, my heart really wasn't in it, and I didn't feel very passionate about it. So I changed my major to English education, and I ended up graduating with a degree in technical writing, and then going right back into the master's program for education, and then pursuing my degree in education, which is what I should have done in the first place. But I was, trying to follow, what my parents suggested, thinking that was the right way to go, but it wasn't the right way to go for me. So any parent that's listening, I just want to say it's best to allow your children to follow their dreams, their passion, because God has given us all a vision for our lives. And it's important that we hear his voice in our decision making. So I just want to encourage parents to support their children in pursuing the career field of their choice.
I love that transparency because oftentimes I think we all have been down that path where we really tried to do something that someone else thought would be good for us to do. And a lot of times, I mean, it's just like riding a bike until you fall off, you don't really realize how to stay on. So learning definitely part of understanding purpose, part of your title of who you are is figuring out that path. And I think with what you do, you have such a great influence over those that are making decisions, the student as well as the parents. So, really good story. Once you actually figured out education, historically you've heard educators, um, they have a lot to carry. I mean, let's face it, we are in an urban district, and the needs that are in an urban district and the budgets are definitely different than those that may be suburban or parochial, as we used to refer to them. So, given that, how do you, as an educator, gain the focus, the interaction, the ability to handle the issues that are in an urban setting specifically at your school? Because your school is amazing and you're doing great things and you've really turned that around.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I can't really take a lot of credit in that, because I really believe that what has happened at John P. Parker is not simply because Dr. Mack is at John P. Parker. No, it's because there is a community collaboration. It took all of our community working together to really move our school forward. and to be forward thinking in our approach to education. So, what that means is, I mentioned earlier that we are a community learning center, which means that we actually engage with our community to provide supports. Supports could mean tutoring, supports could mean, of course, donations, supports could mean programming for our students. It's important, I believe, that we in the schools look at the child holistically, that we're not just looking at, the intellect of the child, but we're looking at the heart of the child. We're looking at their social emotional needs. We're looking at their physical needs. At our school, we were fortunate enough to work with our community to develop a special program. And our program is called Global Environmental Literacy. And through the process of developing this program, we really thought about what our kids need to be successful. Well, we wanted to make sure that we, of course, made sure kids had exposure and were high functioning as it relates to the Ohio Learning Standards. So our program is definitely based in the Ohio Learning Standards. However, we actually do interdisciplinary study with our students and make it very hands-on using 5 areas. Our students are exposed to global citizenship. They know what it means to be a member of a global society. They're also exposed to environmental literacy, which means that they're learning to be stewards of the environment. We have several gardens on our campus. We also have composting on our campus. Lots of varying ways our kids can hands-on learn how to be a steward of the environment. And when I think about partnerships, we have partnerships with organizations like the Civic Garden Center. We also have partnerships with like Green Acres, where our kids can actually be in the outside and learn those Ohio learning standards in um, these varying locations. So, in addition to environmental literacy and global citizenship, there's 3 more parts of our program. We focus on health and wellness. Our students know what it means to serve. Our mission, our school, is that we want our kids to be college ready, but we also want to understand they have a responsibility to make a difference in the world and that they can do so. And our students as young as 3 years old, they're going to Matthew 25 Ministries, and they're volunteering and they're learning about how they can impact global disasters like what we see going on in the Ukraine. So, with all of these programs combined, environmental literacy, global citizenship, health and wellness, service learning, digital literacy, our kids are learning that they can impact the world. They, as young as 3 years old, can be influencers.
I love it. I mean, you hit on a lot of important factors and what contributes to success in the approach that you've used. You are definitely an innovator. One of the key phrases that I heard you mention, and I think you and I both have this in common, both of our fathers being a pastor, but your phrase of community collaboration. It's not about just getting to a building and bringing ideas to a building, but it's the whole village. As the old saying says, it takes a
Yes.
village to raise a child. And so you talked about your community collaboration. And when we had the block party there, I was super impressed, Dr. Mack, to see the community partners come out, our local Cincinnati Police Department officers who are coaches on your students' basketball team, the church members. What, I mean, above and beyond just the normal requirements, what does it take for someone to create those? What was your motivation behind getting out to the community to get them to collaborate with your goals? How did you make that happen?
Well, I believe actually that it was a God given approach. CPS does have community learning centers, but when I came to John P. Parker School, I had no experience with leading a school. I had been an assistant principal, but I had never been a principal. And I felt like I needed support. I needed folks to support the children. So one of the things that I first did was I walked through the neighborhood and I knocked on the doors. I got a list of every child in my school. And I went and
Wow.
I knocked on the doors of every home. I actually left a flyer for them, letting them know that I had been there because I wanted them to know me, but I also wanted to know my students and where they were coming from. I wanted to really be able to understand so that I would be able to lead properly. The second thing I did was I went to the churches. I went to the pastors and I had meetings with the pastors and I asked them to please pray for me because I felt like it was a tremendous task that I was getting ready to attempt. And I could Pastor Tracy Venice at New Mission and just talking with him and sharing with him, you know, that I needed their support and I needed their prayer. I also remember meeting with Dr. Brown, pastor at Pure Gospel Mission over there on Chandler, and he and his wife have been just a tremendous support to our school, even to the point of having honors dinners for our students.
Wow.
Honors dinners. They would take our students to a five-star restaurant here in
Wow.
Cincinnati, and they would honor those students who were honor students. Can you imagine
I
as
love that.
first, second, third, fourth, fifth grader, sixth grader having your possibly first meal at a five-star restaurant because you earned good grades? And it was important to Dr. Brown that he acknowledged that those students were working hard. And that's how he and his wife, Joanne, chose to support the school.
I love it. I love it. I mean, you have really
Citizens.
blazed a trail and bringing um, new ideas and fresh, creative, out of the box ways to grow, meet numbers, establish a standard, innovate, get the children excited about what's, ongoing. And I mean, this is just indicative of what you're sharing. The whole global environment literacy, you talked about that. So just giving new exposure. Now, let me talk to you about Dr. Mack. With everything that you have ongoing, running, being a principal, being a leader, it's more than a title. In fact, it's not even a title, it's influence. But being a woman of influence, sometimes we get tired. Sometimes there's a lack of appreciation. How do you refresh and how do you keep going? And what is it that you say to yourself to keep it going for the benefit of giving back and doing what you do so well? What is it that keeps Dr. Mack going?
Well, it's interesting that you asked that question. I have been working since the pandemic on identifying ways to offer myself self care, and I'm still working on it. Um, I am still working on it. So I started off, the first thing I decided to do, I wanted a hobby. So I started, attempting to paint. I'm not very artistic in that way. So that didn't last that long. But I just need a way to kind of just not be in a business mode. So then I started to write. Um, and I've always been a writer. Um, always been a writer, always kept journals. But most recently, I have found a lot of joy and peace in writing. And then I also started painting furniture for fun. So just being creative in different ways. And I found that that really offers me time to decompress, to kind of just, not think about, business and the things that have to be done as it relates to school and some of the other projects that I have going.
I absolutely love that, Dr. Mack, because one of the most unique things that you've done is I believe a lot of times that when we go through things in life, and as you're making history and creating that right here in Cincinnati, you talked about the things of school, what you're doing with the students, developing the relationship with the community, the church, asking them to pray for you. Okay. When you had pressure, what you figured out to do for yourself, I now see that your students and you're doing it with the school as well. So you talked about writing and painting. And I remember this past year when you were looking at ways to recruit and bring students on more, you actually had these little chairs that were placed in the businesses downtown in the area that were painted nicely with the name of the school. And it gave a very unique creative awareness right in the businesses to tap in. Were the students a part of that? How did that come about?
So what we did was we actually created literacy corners in various businesses in our community and also in some of the churches. So when you walk in, you would see a little child's table along with two chairs in color of navy blue. And then you would also see a book stand next to it. And in the book stand, we placed books for the children who would be visiting with their parents. So the child can read the book while they're with the parent, but they also, if they like the book, they can even take the book home with them and keep the book. And we have several partners that support us in this work as we are really bringing home the importance of literacy in our community. So
I
that
love
was
it.
part of a marketing campaign.
I absolutely love it. And when I saw the chairs,
Madisonville,
I was just absolutely
yeah,
amazed.
yes. So John P. Parker is Madisonville's neighborhood school. And we wanted to make sure that when you come into Madisonville, no matter if it's just going to the cheesecakery for a snack, that you would see that they're part of John P. Parker and we're part of them. We're connected with our community.
I absolutely love it. So let's talk about this writing. I'm really excited about the fact that not only are you doing things within the school, you found ways to navigate when life hits, but you are an author. Tell us about your books. Tell us about what's going on there.
Okay, so I have really bought into the idea. First, I was writing for adults, but most recently, I've begun to write for children. So my first children's book is called My Gift. I don't know if you can see that there, but this book was born out of a concern for children because I wanted them to know that they have helping hands too. So my gift really brings home to children that they have helping hands. They can be a help to other people and they can be a help in their homes. So also, we know that one of the gifts is helps, the gift of helps. And we need to hone in our children, make sure they understand that they have gifts and talents too. And even though they might be small, they can use their gifts and talents for what's best.
I love it. I love it. So, with regards to you authoring My Gift, are we able to actually get that book? Where can we find that book?
So my gift is available on my website, Purpose Driven Educator. So purpose driven educator.com, as well as on Amazon. It is also available on Amazon. So
Love it. Love it. I
most
just
recently,
posted up for everyone that they could see the actual website. So, Purpose Driven Educator .com, and there is a dash in between there where they can get those, and then they also can get it on Amazon as well. So we definitely want to make sure that our viewers are very clear about that because it's a nice item that they can get, read it, and they can also get it for a child because We know that the word says that your giftings will make room for you. And the
Yes.
sooner that we teach our children that they have unique gifts, some people can orate, some people can write, others can draw. They're all unique. We're fearfully and wonderfully made. And I
Yes.
know that you are a beacon of light about writing and authorship. In fact, as I mentioned in the introduction, not only have you authored the book, My Gift, you have a teacher that is doing a couple of books, and then your students have a book as well. Talk to me about the students' collaboration and what you brought this past year through writing a book and the students at your school writing at such a young age.
So, yes, the students at John P. Parker School are now published. Our third and fourth graders participated in the Summer Scholars Program last year. So, the Summer Scholars Program is an opportunity that Cincinnati Public Schools offers to students during the summer. So, during the whole month of June, students are able to participate in enrichment activities. And one of the enrichment activities that was offered was a writing class. So our students actually worked with an illustrator to vision out a character, and then they actually wrote a story about the character. And this book is also available on Amazon as well.
Very good. So that book is on Amazon as well. And I'd like to include that in our comments area. That way, if individuals want to get both of those, we can add those as well. I'll pull those up and make sure that we have those available. So you are really affecting and innovating and driving and leading and being that example to those that are around you. And you really have a lot of times what I always share with people is that sometimes when we go through things we may not understand, but really the going through is never about us. It's so that we can be used as an example to others. And you are such an example to the fact. I believe that this is the first time that we've had a collaboration in authors. If I'm not correct, I would like to correct that, but I think this is the first time that I've heard about students authoring a published book and doing so under the leadership of a principal, doing a program and at such a time as a pandemic. So, I mean, that's something that we really have to acknowledge. What a great accomplishment. So, I absolutely love it. What about this?
So, can I give a shout out to? There are other schools in Cincinnati Public that have authored. Their students have authored books. Winton Hills Academy had students a few years ago that authored a book, and also Evanston Academy. They also
Wonderful.
had books, a book published by their students. So this is something that Cincinnati Public Schools has supported through their enrichment activities. It's just a little bit, I think Parker took a little bit further in that the students working with Shakita Hughes were able to work with an actual illustrator. And the illustrator they were able to describe for the illustrator what this character looks like, what their hobbies and interests would be, and then what their story would be. So the characters actually matched their story.
I love it. Thank you for bringing that fact out. So, this is just absolutely amazing because if the kids can do it, definitely parents can do it as well. I believe everyone has a book inside of them.
Yes.
So, speaking of writing, painting, we talked a little bit about that, about the whole literacy corner and program that you have going on. Read Across America. What do you all do when you participate with that activity as well? Is it something unique that you all do? And how are the students involved?
So Read Across America actually takes place in two forms at John P. Parker. This year, we were able to celebrate one of our teachers, Latoya Turner, who wrote a book called Black Hands, Black Schools. And it was about two students who go to HBCUs. So the students actually study HBCUs and they presented various projects related to HBCUs. So the second part would be in April, we'll be doing our Read Across Madisonville event. And this event, we will be celebrating HBCUs. We're asking for anyone who has graduated from an HBCU, or if you're in a fraternity or a sorority, that we're asking you to join us as we will be celebrating at the Artsville. And I'll put more information on that event in the chat.
Very good, very good. So we're going to look forward to that coming in April, the Read Across Madisonville. I remember last year it was very new to us. And this year, if I'm able, Dr. Mack, hold my feet to the fire, hold me accountable. I would love to participate and be there to support the students and you as well in that. So that's absolutely amazing. I think we also have another day coming up. It's either Encourage a Young Author or Encourage a Young Poet Day. That all kind of ties in as well, too. I think there may be some things. Do you all have anything planned for that time as well?
Well, we're also planning a readathon. We want our children, we want to celebrate them. We want to celebrate the fact that they have published a book. The book is called Our Voices and Imaginations in Ink, a collection of stories from John P. Parker third and fourth grade students. So if you're looking for it, if you type in Our Voices and Imaginations, it should come up. So we're going to have the kids to actually read their stories, and we're going to call it a readathon, where they will also do it live. So we'll be broadcasting that on the John P. Parker Facebook page live so that we can give our students the opportunity to be celebrated and also to share their work.
Very good. I put the link in the chat from Amazon. So that's something that's very exciting. I like the artwork, etc. So anything planned next in terms of what the students are doing, working with the illustrator?
So we are right now, we received a grant from NBA. It's called the NBA Cares Grant. And this grant celebrates STEAM. That's science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. So on Fridays, our students participate in various activities from gardening to STEM collaboratives, and actually art with Annie Ruth. One of the activities they're participating in right now is poetry and with Miss Hughes, and they are actually learning about different styles of poetry. So we're looking forward to seeing what they come up with next.
Very good. I love it. I love it. I love it. Super excited. So, wow. Parents, families, I mean, you definitely want to look in the chat, get the information, and make sure that you are aware of just, just how all of this great information is being shared, what's coming about. So I'd love to, at this moment, shift to really looking at you offer an amazing amount of services. You have the services which include e-learning, publishing, your real estate investment and management, coaching, and mentorship. Can you share with us some of the things that you offer outside of what you're doing inside of the building, on the campus, in the community? What are your services and what do they entail, and how do people get involved with those?
Okay. We offer several different types of services. One that I'm really excited about and that we have really seen folks' lives change with is our accountability groups. So for 8 weeks, we work with usually women who have a goal in mind, but have kind of gotten stuck and for whatever reason. And we actually have 1 hour sessions. And these sessions cover a variety of topics, really to help women get unstuck and move forward with accomplishing the vision. We know where there is no vision, the people perish. So we want to make sure, that we're helping folks to accomplish what God has laid in their hearts. So through this process, folks have had personal um, goals that they wanted to meet as well as professional goals. And we've seen wonderful things happen. We had one lady who wanted to publish, and this was only about a year ago that she worked with our group, and she has now published several books. And we saw one person, one young lady, she wanted to create a website and a podcast. And after only a few weeks after finishing the course, she was on her way and is now, she has a website. It's called She Prays and Believes. And she now has a podcast. So one person had a personal goal. She just wanted to organize her house, but she was struggling. She was struggling with just something that simple. But participating in these weekly sessions for 6 to 8 weeks kind of gave her the impetus to get that done. So just, I am, my whole idea of what I do is really about servant leadership. I really believe that God has placed me on this earth to be a help. And these accountability groups, they're one way that I can help women. And if you're interested in the accountability group, please check out my website and just send me a contact. And then I can reach out to you and let you know when the next accountability group is starting. We
Very
also,
good. I was just going
oh,
to
go ahead.
ask if there was a way to get involved, how to get involved, and so forth. But go ahead. You're about to say something.
Yeah, so we also support folks through the process of publishing. Sometimes it seems intimidating, but there's something in your heart that you've got to get out. It's supposed to be a book, but you're very intimidated. We support folks through that process of publishing. So that's something else that we offer. We are invested in several real estate ventures, so we're able to support folks even with real estate. If they want to get into Airbnbs, we can help with that. Just really what we try to do is to be a support and a help, as we are, that's what God put us on this earth to do, is to
Mhm.
support and help folks. And then even with publishing, I have a new children's book I'm so excited about. It should be out in early April. And this book is dear to my heart because this book talks about the inspiring life of John P. Parker. John P. Parker, he has ties to Cincinnati. Our school is named for him, but some people in Cincinnati, even though there's a school named for him, many people don't know who he is. This is a Black man who came here in the 1800s. He was an abolitionist. He was a conductor on the Underground Railroad. He risked life, limb, his prosperity, and his family to help folks get to freedom across the Ohio River. He was an inventor. He has several patents that are on file with the U.S. Patents Office, and he ran a thriving business. And I feel so strongly about this story because our children need to know who this man was. Our children need to know that just like him, they can do the same thing. They can own their own businesses. They can pursue their dreams. They can help other people. His life so much embodies what our school stands for that it's a shame not to share him and his story with other people. So for the past year, I've been working on this project along with an illustrator from Macedonia. There's that global piece again, to bring this to fruition. I'm so excited that it should be ready to go early April. So if you would like to pre-order, please do so on our website, purpose-driven-educator.com.
I love it. I mean, what better person to bring to the students than yourself? Because again, you're a living example uh, to the whole entrepreneurship, etc. So I'm just gonna let's talk about Dr. Mack. Okay, you have mastered and accomplished quite a bit. What is the most recent or last thing that you've mastered?
Oh, wow. That is
I
such
believe I asked that
a
question
loaded
because,
question.
huh? I asked that question because I believe that we should, learning never stops. When you learn it, you perfect it. When you perfect it, you master it. Once you master it, then you teach it to someone else.
Hmm.
And so that's what makes us very effective. What's the last thing that you would say that you've mastered?
You know what? That's a hard question for me because I'm not sure that I'm mastering. I just feel like I'm serving. I
I
feel like
love it.
I'm putting out into the world positivity in a way that will make the world a better place and that will expose other people to make them want to make this world a better place. So I don't know as far as mastering, but I think I will be most proud of this next book that really will tell a story that will benefit other people and that will inspire. Because when you learn of his story, and in the book, at the end of the book, it begins to talk about how his story relates to the children at our school. I think when you hear and you see that, I mean, it is something that is encouraging. It's encouraging. If this man, born into slavery, at 8 years old, was ripped from his mother, never to
Mm,
see her again, sent
mm,
900 miles away and had to
mm,
walk part of the way, 900 miles away from where he was born in Virginia to Alabama.
mm-hmm,
In
mm-hmm,
addition to that, he was sold to a doctor, and
mm,
folks were down there. They weren't supposed to teach him how to read, but they did.
mm-hmm,
They taught him how to read, and
mm-hmm,
he began to love to read, something that slaves weren't allowed to do. And
mm-hmm,
I think it's important that our children really understand school, how important school is, and what an opportunity
mm,
it is to
mhm,
be educated. That's our right, but it's also an opportunity not to
mhm.
let any day go by, because here there were people just like John P. Parker who weren't given the opportunity. So,
Wow.
and then being able, this is the crazy part about it. He was such a he was such an angry person, having gone through all of what he went through,
Mhm.
that his owner got tired of him and said, I'm going to sell you into the cotton fields. John P. Parker had it within himself to go to one of the clients of his owner, who was a doctor, and say, would you please buy me? I'll pay you back. This woman
Wow.
bought him, and for a year, he worked, scrimped, and saved $1,800. That's
Mm.
a lot of money now.
Mhm, mhm.
$1,800, and bought his freedom. And when he bought his
Wow.
freedom, he left the South and came to Cincinnati, and he settled
Woo.
right here in our area. Now, there's a lot of lessons to be learned from his story:
Mhm,
tenacity,
mhm,
will,
mhm,
service. I mean,
mhm.
so many lessons to be learned from a man's life like John P. Parker. So, with that being said, I think this is probably one of the most important works that I may ever do, because it really does tell the story. And it also tells the story of how our children are receiving the message of John P. Parker at the school that was named after him.
Wow. I love it. I absolutely, what a story. As you told me that story, I got chill bumps all over, because how many of us today are locked in somewhere or enslaved to ways and habits that if we only thought to work and save, maybe we can buy our freedom.
Mm.
That's powerful. I love hearing that. I absolutely love that. Tell me this. What's next for Dr. Mack? What's next?
Well, this year I'll be at John P. Parker, where I've been since 2008. I really love my school and I love our families and what we've been able to accomplish there. It is also my intention to really branch out with doing more, sharing more of the knowledge base that I've gained while serving at John P. Parker School. I strongly believe that if we just understand, we can do better. And sometimes we don't know better because nobody has shared with us
Mm.
how we can do better. So it's my intention to begin to provide some online courses that support families, particularly in the area of special education, as well as some of the strategies that we've used to make John P. Parker the great school that it is, how we support our students with restorative practices, how we support our students with social emotional learning, how we use an affirmation that we learned from a book called Born to Win. And we teach our children that they are born to win and that they're champions. There's a champion in
Ooh.
there. So there's so much that we have been able to work with our school community to implement at John P. Parker that I believe others can learn from. So I just want to be the vehicle that takes what we've been able to do and share it broadly.
I love it. I love it. Servant leadership. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. You know, there's a saying that a good leader knows how to follow, a good leader
Mhm.
knows how to serve. And, I started off this conversation talking about, all of the accomplishments that you have. I mean, you've done so much in the building, in the community, with the students. As an entrepreneur, you're helping families, you're helping professionals. What's your superpower? What is your one lady was sharing that, her superpower is, and in our family, we like to dance, and I've got a cousin, she works at Withrow, and everyone knows her because she gets a line dance. That's her superpower. She can do it
Oh,
without even, and she gets people to relax, and she can put those moves together, and it creates such a positive atmosphere. What's your superpower?
it's kind of hard for me to talk about myself, but um, um, I really think my superpower is in praise and worship. I love to sing, and I just love to talk to him. I mean, just like I'm talking to you. So I
Mm.
think that's my superpower because it allows me to be centered in so many ways. Just being able to reach out to the Lord and allow Him to just kind of guide my footsteps.
Wow. I tell you, this has been such a great time to spend with you this past hour, to hear more about what you're doing, to understand this platform. I just hear God came to me and said, Elyse, you need to host people behind the scenes that are doing amazing things. Specifically, my audience has been women, and showcase what they're doing. People that you identify, connect with, that when I see you, very humble, but executing, very unique, very out of the box, very creative, and in touch with your staff, in touch with your students. It has been very intriguing to see. Any closing words that you'd like to share with those that are tuned in, for those that will watch this later on? If you could leave some closing words, Dr. Mack, what is it that you want to share with us today?
Well, I just want to say to anyone who's listening is that we all has have a purpose. A lot of times, the purpose that we have, it's instilled in us as a very young person, and God doesn't forget. He allows your passion and your purpose to be aligned. So if you're struggling with trying to figure out where do I go, what do I do next, just get quiet and think about, what am I passionate about? What is it that I feel like I'm supposed to be doing? For some people, you'll continue just like you were in the same vein, but for others, you know that there's a call for something else, and you have to overcome the fear. You have to overcome the fear. You have to overcome those, what I call those inner critics that say, well, I spent so much money trying to do it this way. I don't want that money to go to waste. You know what? Our Father has riches
Mm.
way above what we could ever know. And we have to
Mm.
trust Him and trust His voice. So, in parting today, I just want to encourage everyone, there is purpose in each and every one of us. Follow the purpose that has been laid in your heart.
I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard it directly from Dr. Kimberly Mack, the purpose driven leader. And why don't you check out our website? I've got it posted here, purpose driven educator.com. All of her information is there, her services. She's talked about her books. She's talked about the additional services that are offered. I personally absolutely love the accountability group. I think that that's something unique and we all need it. And definitely connect with her. Dr. Mack, it has been my honor. I hope that everyone has enjoyed this. We do have some other leading women during Women's History Month that we're going to host here. And I'm just so grateful to be in your presence. Again, it's been my honor to host you live today. If anyone has questions, definitely share them, submit your questions online, and please join us as we prepare to host our next. I'll share with you. You can go out to Elyse She Empowers or the Elyse page on Facebook. I do broadcast that to LinkedIn as well as YouTube. Like and subscribe. If you got feedback, we'd love to hear that so that we can make this better. But again, as I close out, my why is simply helping those take off any limitations to move beyond mediocrity so that you too can live and have a quality life. Thanks for joining us, and we look forward to you all joining us again.
Thank you, Elyse.
Yes.